Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Bruce Hutchin, the host of Whitetail Rendezvous and the founder of Deer Hunting Institute. And I'm sitting in an absolutely gorgeous place on the backside of Grand Teton in Idaho at a friend's ranch, which they manage. And I've been baling hay for the last 3 days. And so I've lost a few pounds, but I just am so excited to have Cliff Ravenscraft. And Cliff has been a friend of mine for a number of months, probably going back 6 to 8 months, and I found Cliff, and he helped me tremendously with my podcast, and I had some questions about launching my course. And Cliff recently reached out to me because he's on a mission to change people's lives, and that's what this show's about. So if you want to listen to a guy that's been extremely successful, changing thousands of people's lives, then listen to Cliff. Cliff, welcome to the show.
Bruce, I am excited to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, it's a little payback. I mean, we spent about an hour on the phone a few months, like I said, ago, and then you got me set up so I could launch my first course and get my first course built. And then you came back and said, I have a mission to help people understand how powerful dreams are. And so that's really, folks, what this is about. And so if you're hunting and dreaming, you're a hunter, you're listening to my show, and you haven't set your goals for this year, Cliff can help you do that. But even more important, you need to frame out the rest of your life, starting right now. And Cliff, there's no better man than you to do that for my listeners. So thank you for being on the show, sir.
Absolutely, man. So where do you want to begin?
I want to begin with the beginning with Cliff and just bring us, I know you started how many years ago with Podcast Answer Man?
I started Podcast Answer Man 1 year into my podcasting journey as a hobby. And by then I knew that, man, I wonder what it'd be like if I could find some way to become full-time self-employed so I could be in charge of my own schedule. So I would be able to have the opportunity to build relationships and facilitate online communities that have a profound and positive impact in people's lives on my own schedule. I didn't have to actually worry about, what hours of the day I'm spending doing what. I get to choose all of that stuff. So 1 year into my podcasting as a hobby, which I started in as a hobby in December 2005, and 1 year later, I launched a show called Podcast Answer Man, where I said, hey guys, in episode number 1, I said, I want to actually build this podcast as a place for me to answer your questions related to podcasting because, well, quite frankly, I think it'd be cool if within the next 3 to 5 years, if I could actually make a living as a podcast coach and consultant and leave my career as an insurance agent. And long story short, it didn't take 3 to 5 years. 9 months later, I put my 90-day notice in, and 1 year after that, I was full-time self-employed.
And it wasn't easy, folks. One thing Cliff won't tell you, or maybe he will, but it wasn't easy, that journey, because what was the first year's income?
Oh, yeah. My first year as a full-time self-employed person was a total of $11,000 net income, which was significantly less than I was making as an insurance agent after more than 12 years and being one of the most successful insurance agents in the United States. Now, what I will tell you, though, is that while financially I struggled because of all kinds of beliefs that I had about money and about adding value to people's lives, and the belief that you had to have, you had to actually hate what you do to actually or what you did, the harder you work, the more money you should make, or the more you hate your job, the more money you should make. And the thing is I was now full-time self-employed doing something that, quite frankly, I love to do. And in a way, my biggest struggle for the first several months of full-time self-employment was sending somebody like Bruce an invoice. Because Bruce is like, let's just say we knew each other back in 2008 and you were one of my first clients. Bruce, you would say, Cliff, can you help me launch a podcast? And I'm like, dude, yes, I'd love to help you do that. And here it is. You asked me a bunch of questions over the phone. And at the time, I thought I was charging a lot of money at $50 an hour, which that's a whole nother story for another time. But anyway, the thing is after the call, I'd be like, man, I can't send you an invoice. That's the most fun I've ever had. And I had this belief at the time that, well, I shouldn't get paid to do something that, quite frankly, doesn't feel like work. That was too enjoyable. That was easy to me. I mean, I may have completely radically changed your world and helped you accomplish something in 1 hour that maybe you couldn't have even done in 3 months on your own. None of that really registered for me. All I knew is that I just loved what I just did for the last hour. And it feels weird for me to actually have somebody pay me for something that was probably one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had in a long time. So that's why I only made $11,000 my first year. Now, I do want to say this. My business was profitable from day one. I didn't leave my career as an insurance agent without having some validation. I was already making $3,000 to $5,000 a month just doing it part-time for the year before I left my career in insurance. When I became full-time self-employed, I created a business. The business paid for our family's health insurance. The business paid for a CPA. The business paid for new computers. The business paid for a lot of software. It paid for all its overhead. But for the first 9 months, the business did not pay payroll to the only employee, which was me. But during finally, I figured out a few things. By the final 3 months of the year, I drew a paycheck in October, November, and December of 2018, and the net income total was $11K.
Announcing the North American introduction to Gum Leaf USA, the best European handmade rubber knee boots. They are now available to all whitetail hunters via gumleafusa.com. What makes Gum Leaf boots world class? 1, comfort, 2, durability, and 3, quality. Go to www.gumleafusa.com and order your pair today. You'll get free shipping if you use promo code WR2019.
So, folks, nobody has a magic wand for you. And we're going to get into this about desire and framing your life. And I want everybody to take notes. If you're listening to this, don't stop your car. But when you get home, personal blueprint equals life conditions. And I really want you to talk about that, Cliff, because when you shared that with me, when we chatted, I went, wow. And I just used that last night with the family that I'm visiting. There's a situation coming up, and I said, here's why there's this disconnect, because your personal blueprint doesn't equal the life condition. So let's camp on that a little bit, because I know every single listener has some frustration, or it's not going exactly the way you thought your life was going, be it you're 18 or be it, you're 60. So let's talk about that.
Sure. So what you're talking about is what I call, and what I've learned from other teachers before me, it's called the formula for happiness. All right. So there's a formula for how to be happy whenever you want to be happy. All right. So if you're angry, if you're frustrated, you're sad, you're anxious, you're worried, you're depressed, whatever the case may be, you're not happy right now. Well, I can tell you there is a formula for how to become happy. And happiness is where your life conditions, basically what you're experiencing right now, equals the way you feel life ought to be. It's that simple. So if you want to be happy, all you have to do is make sure that your current life circumstances equals the way you feel life should be. And by the way, the way you feel life should be, or the way you feel things should go, that's called your blueprint or your model of the world. So life conditions equals blueprint is your life conditions equals the way you feel things ought to be. All right. And so, by the way, we can call this the way you feel things ought to be, or your blueprint. Another easy word for this is the expectations you have, right? So do your life conditions equal your expectations? And in every circumstance where the answer to that question is yes, you will be happy. So for example, if my relationship with my wife, if I have this belief that things ought to go this way. And when I have an experience or a conversation with my wife or whatever the case may happen, and she lives up to the expectations, her response to the situation or scenario or the conversation is according to what I felt like it should be. If that is real, then all of a sudden now I'm happy. But have you ever had a situation where you and your wife have a conversation, you have your idea about how you think she ought to respond, but she responds in a completely different way? And that response does not equal what your expectations were. But now all of a sudden, guess what? You're not happy. You may be frustrated. You may be angry, but you're not happy. And so, and of course, this is financially as well. I mean, if you're upset and depressed about where things are financially for you, that means that you have an idea or expectations of how you believe your financial situation should be right now. And your current life conditions don't live up to that. Your life conditions don't equal your model of the world in the area of the way you feel things ought to be in finances. And so therefore you're unhappy. So if you're unhappy in your relationship with your spouse, if you're unhappy in your financial situation that you have in life, if you are unhappy in the way that your physical body is, let's just say you're 70 pounds overweight, you've got some tingling in the fingers and your toes, and the doctor's telling you you've got type 2 diabetes and you're going to have to go on metformin, and these are all the side effects, and you hear that news and you're depressed, guess what? Now all of a sudden your life conditions in the area of your physical fitness and health don't equal your way you believe things ought to be, the way they should be, and so you're unhappy. So no matter what area of your life that you find yourself unhappy with, all you have to do is fix the blueprint. All you have to do is look at this formula and fix one of the two sides of the equations. One, change your life conditions, or actually you can do both if potentially, and or change what you believe how things ought to be. So for example, here's the situation. Let's just say I'm having a conversation with my spouse and I have this expectation it's going to go this way. She's going to respond like, oh yeah, I think that's a great idea. Let's do that. But she's like, heck no, I told you the other day, blah, 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 blah. So my life conditions is like, well, okay, well, first of all, if it's somebody else on the other side of the equation that's keeping me from having my life circumstances be what would get me to my ideal, then I may not be able to change my life circumstances. Some things are outside of my control in the life circumstances department. But what's never out of control is what I think about. I am always in control of what I think about and what I'm focused on and what it means and what actions I'm going to take. And so if I choose to, I can say, okay, I proposed this idea to my spouse. She responded this way. That did not meet my expectations. Now it's like, okay, I can't change how she's responding. How many times have we tried that before? And that doesn't make us any happier. So when the life conditions aren't something you change, then change your model of the world, change the way you believe things ought to be. And instead say, okay, I don't expect my wife to go along with everything that I say. In fact, one of the things that I'm going to think about in my model of the world when it comes to my relationship with my wife is I'm going to realize that sometimes, as much as I may hate to admit it, there are times that my wife will not see things the way that I see them. She may not see the proposal that I make to be as advantageous for us as I do. And she may disagree with how I'm viewing things and how I'm proposing things. And sometimes that's exactly what I need to keep me in check, because sometimes there is a perspective that she brings to the table that I'm unaware of. And I need to be open to the value that she brings to keep me from making mistakes or jumping into things too fast and too quick. Instead of this old model of the world that thinks, man, everything I suggest to my wife, she should go along with, which by the way is almost always going to be a model of the world that will give you a formula for unhappiness for the rest of your life. Instead, what if I adjust my expectations of my relationship with my wife, that there's going to be a good percentage of the time she's not going to go along with what I propose. And I think that I need to be more aware of the fact that that could be an opportunity for me to see things from a different perspective. And yet there's a vantage point that I need to be aware of that's going to help me grow. So that's changing my model of the world, or the way I think things ought to be with my spouse. When it comes to my financial situation, what if my financial situation, my mindset is this? I believe that I should be 100% completely debt free. All right. And so I will never pay my bills late. I will never have a past due balance on a credit card. I won't even have a credit card balance ever beyond if maybe I have in my business, expenses, but I pay it off every month. But I'll never carry a balance on a credit card. I will never pay a utility bill past its due date. That's my model of the world. That's the way I feel things ought to be. So what if my life conditions are something unexpected happened? Yes, we had an emergency fund, but this emergency wiped out the emergency fund. And at the same time, something unexpected happened on the side of my business. And now all of a sudden I realize that, man, there's a shortage of income and it looks like we're going to be able to pay all of our bills on time, but that means the credit card is going to not get paid. I'll pay the minimum balance. I can afford that. But man, it looks like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to carry a balance. I'm quote unquote in debt. It doesn't matter to me if it's 200, 2,000 or 20,000 on that balance. The reality is the fact that I have any balance carried on that credit card, it doesn't equal, that's a life condition of carrying a balance, doesn't equal my model of the world. And so I guess what? I get anxious, I get worried, I get upset, and I may even be depressed because my financial situation doesn't equal, my current circumstances does not equal what my model of the world is in my financial situation. So in that scenario, guess what? I can change either side of the equation to be happy. Literally, I could continue to carry a balance on my credit cards and be happy. But the only way I can do that is if I change the way that I think and feel and what meaning I associate to the idea of carrying a balance on a credit card. And so I may actually choose to change my standard and my way of thinking about carrying debt. Now, the thing is I'm not up for that for me personally, because I feel that's something that I feel so strongly about. I could change it if I wanted to, but I don't. And the reason why I'm not even going to consider that is because I know I can actually work on the other side of the equation to get me happy. And that is the life conditions. And one of the things that I've learned is that there's never a lack of resources. I remember years ago when I used to hear people say this and it's like, oh, come on, I would roll my eyes. But we live in a world of an immense abundance of resources. Every resource we could ever need for what we want is there. It's never a lack of resources. It's always a lack of resourcefulness. And so this isn't a case of, can I change somebody else's behavior so that my financial situation is that I don't have a balance anymore, carrying a balance on a credit card anymore. No, it's like, okay, I'm unhappy because I have this balance and I still have this belief about how things ought to be financially for me. This doesn't equate. This makes me unhappy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to instead focus on the life circumstances. The life circumstances is that financially, I've got myself a little hole here. I need to dig myself out of it. And so what I'm going to do is change my life circumstances. I am going to create some new opportunity to generate significant income so that I can get myself completely out of debt again. And I'm going to do it quickly. And then the question is, okay, I'm absolutely committed to this outcome. I've made the decision. I'm not changing the blueprint. I'm not changing how I feel about carrying debt. I'm still good with the fact that it makes me sick to my stomach to know that I owe credit card companies money and that there's interest incurred. I don't want to change that, but I am committed. I've made a decision. There is no other outcome. I will generate an extra $20,000 above and beyond what I would have generated this month anyway. And that will get me out of debt before my next credit card statement comes in. And now I just need to know, what can I do to do it? So it's not a question of, can I do it? I know I can. The resources are there. It's just, am I willing to change my life circumstances to be a little bit more resourceful than I would have otherwise? And so then I'm like, okay, maybe if I don't come up with the answer to myself within and of myself, which we all have the ability to come up with some really resourceful ways to generate income or to change other circumstances in our lives. But if I can't do it on myself, then I go to a friend of mine and I might call Bruce up and say, Bruce, let me tell you what's happened. Man, I had this happen, and now we got a credit card balance. This is unacceptable for me. It's too painful. I've made a commitment. I'm going to do this. Can you think of anything that I could do? You know a lot about me. can you think of anything I could do where I could generate an extra $20,000 above and beyond what I normally would make this month? And Bruce might say, well, have you thought about doing a one-day workshop where you get 20 people to pay you, or maybe you do a weekend workshop where you get 20 people to come to your next level studio and pay $1,000 a piece. You've done those before, haven't you? And I'm like, oh yeah, I have. Well, when was the last time you did one? 9 months ago. Well, do you think you could do one in 6 weeks from now or 4 weeks from now and market it? Oh yeah, I guess I could. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay. And what I've done is I go and create a sales page. I reach out and I am absolutely committed. I will personally reach out. I will use whatever marketing methods and techniques, and I will go and find the exact ideal customer for this weekend workshop. And I will not rest until the 6 weeks is here and I serve as many people that have come. And let's just say it's, okay, I went for 20, but I have 12. All right, well, that's $12,000 I didn't have before. And so I will serve those 12. Or I will continue to do it. I will work relentlessly to sell the 20 spots, and then I will be prepared for that. So the thing is that's how I change my life circumstances. And because of that actions that I've taken over here on the life circumstances side, now I'm happy. So and sometimes you can actually do a little bit of a mixture of both. Sometimes it's like, listen, okay, I have this belief over here that I should never have a credit card balance. And over here, I've got these life circumstances that I took some actions and I sold 12 spots instead of 20. So I could continue to be unhappy, or I could say, listen, I will never carry a credit card balance for more than 45 days. And I could just adjust my model of the world on the blueprint side to help me bring that into alignment with what my new circumstances in life. And so actually being happy is a choice.
Yes, it is.
So that's the message. That's the blueprint of happiness.
And so, folks, a lot of you guys have your hit list and you're getting frustrated because no deer is showing up on your hit list on your farms, and you're going, man, we got too much water, the crops, my food plots suck. Okay, so you got to pivot. And so that's how I would call it. You just got to change what your expectation is. Okay, what can I do right now? Can I put in another crop that is going to germinate really quick? At least I'm going to have some food. So you have to think, just like Cliff said, talk to your friends, talk to the people you know, and say, okay, what do I need to do today? So then in 60 days, I have food for deer to eat. So they'll come in, and then my life will be better because I don't be frustrated because I'm a 365 hunter and I want to have those deer there. That's part of that's who I am. That helps define me is I'm a hunter. So take what Cliff just said and have it fit into your sandbox. I'd love to talk about sandboxes. So it's your sandbox. Now you're going to take the information Cliff's going to just gave you and the stuff that's coming up and apply it. Because Cliff, why don't people apply what they learned?
Why? So we all have things that we have learned. Sometimes we'll invest a lot of money and resources and time and effort and energy in learning new techniques and strategies to help us get us the things that we want. And the reality is we all probably know a whole lot more than we've ever applied. So we have this long laundry list of things that we know we ought to do, the things we should do, the things that we say we want to do. But the reality is the fact we're not doing them. There's a gap between the things that we say we're going to do and what we actually end up doing. And the reality is that we might think, well, we're just too busy and all this other stuff, and I don't have enough time. The reality is that those are generally excuses because we all have the same amount of time. And the reality is the answer to the question of why are you not taking the actions to do the things you say you want to do or the things that you feel you ought to do. And it all comes down to something called beliefs. By the way, a belief is nothing more than a thought that you feel certain is true. And this is how I help people walk through this. I ask people, I say, listen, tell me what it is that you're going after. What's your biggest goal right now? Or what is the biggest dream that you have? And they'll oftentimes tell me what it is that they're excited about pursuing and what they really want to do next in their life and all that other stuff. And I say, okay, how long do you think it will take you to get there? And usually it's at some point in the future, because obviously they don't have it in their life now. So it's always going to be some point in the future, but it's often far enough away that there's really nothing that's going to give them the pressure that they need to take some immediate action today. So oftentimes it's 3 to 5 years. It might be 5 to 10 years from now to achieve this dream. Many times it's 10 to 20 years. And it's often, Bruce, I just talked to a guy who is 66 years old the other day and asked him what his dream was. And he's already been putting his dream off for 5 years, every year for the last 10, 20 years. So the thing is, like, dude, you keep putting this thing off, you're going to run out of time. The snooze button doesn't last forever, And so I always ask people when they tell me, let's just say it's 5 to 10 years from now, I'm like, why not next year? And then the answers come. They're called excuses. Well, here, let me tell you all the reasons why it is not possible for me to have that dream fulfilled this time next year. And Bruce, in almost every single circumstance, what they're giving you are what I call limiting beliefs. I can't do that because I have this. I can't do that because of this. I can't do that because of this. And really, all those are beliefs. And because they believe it's true, the one thing is what we believe is true. We're all, believe it or not, we're all people of integrity. And integrity doesn't mean you're a good person. And integrity just means you're in alignment with your actions in your life are in alignment with what you believe. All right. And so Henry Ford was famously quoted and known to have said this: whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. So if you believe that it would take you 5 to 10 years for you to achieve your dream, you're right. It will take you 5 to 10 years. That, by the way, that doesn't mean you're going to actually get your dream in 5 to 10 years, because chances are if you were asked again 1 year later, you're still going to say 5 to 10 years. And you're still going to believe it will take a minimum of 5 years. And if asked again another year later, you'll still say 5 to 10 years because you've never changed your belief about how long it's going to take. And you can put it out so far that you'll never feel the pressure of taking action today. So what happens is they never take action, and therefore it's a self-fulfilling prophecy for themselves. They never achieve it. See, I knew I couldn't do it. But you take somebody else, I take somebody who, let's just say I've got this guy, he's 45 years old, and he's got a child who has a serious life-threatening illness. And the thing is this thing's so unique, and there's only one procedure that has ever been proven to save the life of a child with this illness. And that child has to have this procedure done within 6 months. The only thing is that the insurance that he has does not cover it. All right. And it's also in another part of the world, and he has to fly there to do it. And it's going to cost $5 million. And the only thing is if you put the stipulation that this 45-year-old guy who has a child with a life-threatening illness that needs that operation within 6 months, it's going to cost $5 million. And there's a stipulation that the doctor will not perform the surgery if you borrowed money to pay the $5 million, or if you had other people just give it to you because they felt sorry for you based upon the situation. You have to earn the money. I guarantee you put a guy in that situation who, let's just say his desire, his dream is to become a millionaire and have $5 million in net worth within the next 5 to 10 years or 10 to 20 years. But he says, there's no way I could do it within 5. Well, I guess what? You put him in that situation, I guarantee you he will earn $5 million within 5 months. And the only thing different is whether he believes he can and believes he can't. And he will be willing to change his belief based upon what we call leverage. He has enough leverage. There's enough pain associated to not achieving that dream. The problem with most of us and the dreams and the things that we say we want, we don't have what we call neuroassociations to pain. See, the idea, let's just say somebody says, oh, I want to quit smoking, right? And the reality is they've tried a couple times and they always go back to it, right? And then they go to light up a cigarette and it's like, oh, well, you might think, well, no, I know there's pain. I mean, people develop lung cancer, right? But then they say, well, George Burns smoked till he was 101 or whatever. And, look at him, right? It's like, okay, so you're going to point to the 1%. You're going to ignore all the percentage of the people who actually die from lung cancer. But the thing is even lung cancer, if you really want to be able to change your behavior, you have to have what we call some really hardwired neuroassociations And what we say is it's got to be unbearable, immediate, massive pain. Massive, unbearable, immediate pain. So first of all, the pain has to be massive. It has to be immediate, and it has to be unbearable. So if you take the 45-year-old guy with this ill child that needs this operation within 6 months, and he has to come up with $5 million, if he does not come up with the $5 million, is that massive pain of watching his child die? The answer is yes. Is it unbearable? Yes. Is it immediate pain? Yes. All right. Now, that's going to prompt him to take actions to earn $5 million within 5 months, right? Hands down, he's got the leverage. All right. Here's the problem with the person who wants to quit smoking cigarettes, but he can't take the action of committing to never putting another one in his mouth. All right. That person, get this, is there massive pain? Yeah. The idea of dying an early death, that's kind of massive. All right. Is that unbearable? Yeah. Is it immediate? Nope. And that's the missing ingredient. See, the missing ingredient is the fact that, yeah, I know I might die an early death some point down the road. The thing is that let's just say I'm 45 years old, and chances are if I was to quit smoking, I might live until my mid to late 80s. I might even make it to 90. But if I smoke, I might actually end up dying in my 60s. But I'm 45 right now, and that's so far off, and that seems like a life. It's like, why bother? And that's why we don't do that. So we have to have, it's what we believe about all of these things. It's also what we believe about the amount of pain that we will experience if we don't have what we have. And so here's what I will tell you. Anybody who says, this is what I'm going to do, but doesn't do it, they don't believe that there's enough pain that will be introduced into their life if they don't achieve it. Matter of fact, in fact, a lot of them, they know what they want to do, and they say it's a dream, but instead they actually believe that it will cause them pain to go after it. It will cause them more pain to go after it. And because they believe that the pursuit of what they want, the actions that they will take is painful, they choose not to do it. So for example, if I used to weigh 300 pounds, I probably, if I would have went to the doctor, I probably would have been told that I had type 2 diabetes and I need to go on metformin. And that was painful to me. But the reason, how did I get there? I knew how to reverse this years ago. It's simply being very conscious about the types of foods that I'm eating. It's saying no to the bags of chips at night. It's saying no to the entire pints of ice cream during my binge television watching. And it means going to the gym. But in my mind, why did I put off going to the gym? Why did I put off eating healthy? Because my belief was that it was more painful to go to the gym. I go to the gym, I lift some muscles, and I get a crick in my back. It's like all of a sudden I've got so much pain. I didn't know it. I didn't notice that. I didn't know this thing about just the onset. What is it called? It's called onset muscle soreness or whatever. I didn't know about that stuff. You just need to work through that. But I had this belief that, man, I really hurt my back. I didn't really hurt my back. I freaking used my muscle for the first time in like 35 years. Dude, get over it. Keep going. But I didn't have that belief. I had a belief that I just really injured myself. And so that kept me from taking action.
This is it. This is day 3 of the Founders Launch for Deer Hunting Institute. At 12 p.m. today, the doors will close. The cart will close on Deer Hunting Institute Founders. It won't be offered again, folks. So if you want to be part of the founding membership of Deer Hunting Institute, you better sign up now. Go to deerhuntinginstitute.com/founders-invitation to sign up now. What's so special about Deer Hunting Institute? It was created to help you become a smarter deer hunter. Each month you will have many opportunities to access whitetail hunting tips and techniques from some of the best hunters in North America. As a founder's bonus, you will receive a 13-module deer hunting course. It is loaded with information about deer hunting, no matter if you're a beginner, seasonal, or 365 hunter. Again, doors closed. The cart is closing at 12 p.m. today. So go to deerhuntinginstitute.com/founders-invitation and become a founding member of Deer Hunting Institute now.
Cliff, when I sit here, listen to you, and, I think about, I'm looking at the Grand Teton, the Idaho side of it. And I think of the people that set out to climb the Grand Teton. And it's an iconic peak to climb, and it's not that difficult really to climb. And to climb it, physically you got to be in shape, but to climb any mountain, and I've done some 14ers, you have to be mentally prepared that when a push comes to shove, you hit the barrier, the pain becomes so much, you're not going to crunch. And I think that's what I'm hearing from you. The pain's going to be so significant that you say, if I don't do this, then I'm not going to summit.
That's exactly right. So in my mind, for whatever it is, whatever dream that I have set for myself, whatever goal I have set for myself, the pain of not achieving that dream or goal has to far exceed any pain associated with any obstacle that I'm going to have to get through to get there.
Folks, did you hear that? Say that again, because that's like to say the heart of the matter. And that's really it. So repeat what you just said.
The pain of not achieving your goal or dream has to far exceed the pain of any obstacle that you'll need to get through to achieve that dream.
So let that sink in. Let that grasp you. And we're going to roll into the dream session of our podcast in a minute. But everybody has a dream. There's nobody, every single kid that's ever grown up and played baseball dreams about hitting a home run in the World Series, the bottom of the ninth, and they win. Every kid has. And people have these things and they see it and say, I want to attain that. And they start building towards that. But then there's this disconnect comes in, as you just stated.
Well, and the thing is, there's all kinds of beliefs about what it would take to be that. Do you know how many days a week, how many hours a day I need to train to be able to get in a place where I have the skill to do that? Ain't nobody got time for that. That's too painful. See, they didn't want it bad enough. The pain of what it would take to get to that level is for that pain exceeds the pain of not actually fulfilling that dream. And so if you want to fulfill that dream, you have to be like my friend Chris Pavone. Chris Pavone was this guy who, quite frankly, as a kid, had a desire to be a professional WWF pro wrestler. All right. The only thing is that they changed the name from WWF to WWE. That's a different story for another time. But here's the thing. He pursued that dream because the idea of not living the life of a professional WWF or WWE wrestler was way more painful to him than any obstacles that stood in his way. And because of that, he was able to say, okay, what's it going to take for me to become a He started lifting weights. He was a scrawny kid, right? Now he started to lift weights. And those weights hurt, you know? He lifted heavy stuff and he built himself just this massive physique. But he also needed to train. He needed to learn the skill and the art that is professional wrestling. So he's like, how do I do this? And he's like, you got to find a wrestling school. He says, well, but not just any wrestling school. You got to find one that's reputable where people will, they'll farm talent from. And so he lived up in like North Central Ohio, but the closest school was in Louisville, Kentucky. So he drove, and by the way, his mom and dad, he wanted the support of his mom and dad. His mom and dad says, listen, we'll support you in wrestling, but you can't give up on school. And so school is up here. Wrestling school is down here, and it's on the weekends, 2 or 3 days on the weekends. So what he did is he went to school in North Central Ohio all throughout the week, and he would commute every week 4.5 hours to Louisville, Kentucky, do his wrestling training and skill and all that other stuff, and literally crushing him physically. And then he would commute all the way back home 4.5 hours and go back to school that next week. That was a lot of pain. But that pain was not worse than the pain of the idea of not living his dream of being a professional wrestler. And Chris Pavone became Kalen Croft. And my friend Chris Pavone is a former professional WWE wrestler. Matter of fact, you can go look up Chris Pavone that's KRISPAVONE. Just do a search for Chris Pavone in YouTube. You'll see him. There's tons of videos of him wrestling. He was on MTV, some kind of celebrity game show, because he became a celebrity. All right. He lived his childhood dream. How did he do it? The pain of not doing it was more than the pain of all the things he had to go through to get it. And that's how you achieve anything in life, is you get the right neuroassociations.
Cliff, how do people reach out to you? And we're gonna do a promo at the end of the show about your conference coming up. But right now, if somebody says, "Hey, I want to find out more about Cliff Ravenscraft," how would they do that?
Yeah, matter of fact, I would encourage them to go to mindsetanswerman.com/free. Mindsetanswerman.com/free. And if you go there, there's an opportunity for you to get a free 1-hour opening keynote address to a conference that I did last year called Free the Dream. And by the way, there's a 90-second video clip at the top of the page to give you an example of what you're going to get inside of that talk. If you watch the 90-second clip and you're not interested, just forget about it. All right? But if you go to mindsetanswerman.com/free, you watch the 90-second clip and you say, okay, I've got to see the rest of this talk. Put your name and email address in there and you'll get immediate access to this full 1-hour talk. And at the top of the page, it says, give me 60 minutes and I'll teach you how to live the life of your dreams. And that's a bold promise. And Bruce, I think you could probably attest, because I've worked with you, that I can do a lot in 60 minutes, wouldn't you say?
Guaranteed. There's no question about it. Absolutely none. A lot of things have changed in my life just because of our talk 8 months ago or whenever it was, because you're flat out not selling anything. And the thing that amazes me most about you, Cliff, is that, yes, you're highly compensated, but that has nothing to do with what you do with people. And I can attest to that personally, because you took that 60 minutes and poured everything that you could to answer my questions and help me get from part A to part B. And because you could have come in and said, well, you need to do this, and I wasn't ready. You know, you have to be ready. You have to be at the right place at the right time. And then, you know, when the student's ready, the master will show up. Well, people, you have to understand that if you're not ready to absorb and to learn and be coachable and to change, don't waste your time, because you really will be wasting time. If you will submit to somebody else and say, okay, wait a minute, he's already done what I want to do, he can help me do that, then that relationship, I look at our relationship as priceless, because you gave into my life.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And of course, the cool thing is that, I mean, my own time, effort, and energy is not limitless. You know, there's a finite amount of time that I can, and number of people that I can work with in a relationship, like I've worked with you one-on-one personally. I certainly have this philosophy. I do for some what I wish I could do for everyone. And you certainly were one of the some, and it's an honor. But the cool thing is with the Free the Dream message, like this online video that I give away for free, so far over 1,000 people have downloaded that video. And I get emails every single day from people that tell me, oh my gosh, I did not realize just how many limiting beliefs I truly had. And then I get follow-ups, you know, a couple of weeks later. And I'm still at a place where I can still read all of the emails that come in. And I know that my days are numbered as far as when I'm still going to be able to keep up with that.
Let me just throw this in. Every single email I've sent to Cliff, some things about my journey and some things, hey, here's some information. Cliff has taken the time to personally respond. And that's pretty incredible, actually.
Yeah, and I do that for you and several hundred people per week, every week. It's amazing. I've been doing that since 2005, December 2005. But the thing is, by the way, my dream, I'm actually working towards the dream of filling stadiums with tens of thousands of people per event that I host.
Cliff, is that what Free to Dream, is that your platform?
Yes.
Free to Dream, filling the stadiums. So let's jump into that, and let's talk about people, talk to the people and bring them up to speed, why you decided to do that, and then how they can get involved.
Well, the thing is I decided to do everything that I'm doing, and leaving my career in insurance back in January 1st, 2008, I decided to leave that career so that I could do what I felt is my greatest ministry in the world. I have a heart for serving people and helping them break free from anything that keeps them from living the life for which they were created. I hate to see people suffer. I hate to see people depressed. I hate to see people who are 180 pounds overweight, and they're literally killing themselves physically. I hate to see people struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, and every single time their children come into the room, their heart drops because, okay, now what? How much are you going to cost me? I hate seeing people live this life because that's not the life we were created to live. We have so many resources and you're just not living up to the potential that you have. And I've learned, and by the way, the only reason I was that guy, I was not living, there's a reason I was 300 pounds. There's a reason I only made $11,000, working around the clock. That was not the life that I was called to live. And so I had to learn the hard way, unfortunately, to figure out, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Why do I refuse to do the things that I'm doing that I know I should do and I want to do and I say that I'm going to do? And I went through all the hard work of figuring all this stuff out by studying the experts who had gone before me. And once I applied what I learned from them to my life, I realized I didn't have to struggle for 10, 20 years with my health, like my weight. I didn't have to struggle for 5 years financially. I didn't have to have a terrible relationship with my kids or my wife from time to time. I didn't have to be depressed for 6 or 7 weeks, out of the year. I could choose to, I could take different, I could literally snap out of some of this stuff that was holding me back in a minute if I just apply a few simple techniques. And what I did is I discovered that in 6 1-hour talks, I could train and teach people what helped me completely lose over 100 pounds and keep it off for more than 6 days, or for more than 4.5 years now. I made a commitment in November 2014. I said, I'm going to work out 6 days a week, every week for the rest of my life. I've lived up to that. I made a commitment about 1.5 years ago, Bruce, that I said, I will never in my life again eat a sugary snack, a Kit Kat, candy bar, cupcake, any of that. I have lived up to that. I will never eat a sugary snack again in my lifetime. All right. And I promise you, it will not happen. So the thing is I learned what it takes. There are 6 talks that I can give to teach you exactly how I've been able to make significant, massive, immediate change in my life that will last a lifetime. I will not stop working out. I will not go back to eating sugar. I will not go back to living in debt. I will not go back to just surviving financially. I will not go back to the way that I used to think about my marriage. I will not go back and treat my kids, with the mindset that I had previously. I have used these 6 tools and techniques for changing my life forever. And I had also, through podcast coaching and consulting, I spent a decade teaching more than 40,000 people how to launch a podcast. And through that, what I was doing is they were asking me questions. Dude, Cliff, how are you working out 6 days a week? How do you not give up? I see you in the gym every single day. You exhaust me. How do you do it? And I said, do you want to do it? And they said, yeah. I said, do you really want to do it? They said, I do. I said, well, will you give me permission to ask you some questions that are going to be the most difficult, challenging questions you've ever been asked? And they said, yes. And everybody who's given me that permission, they're working out 6 days a week, every week for the rest of their life. And the people who said, Cliff, how do you go without eating sugar? I said, you have to really make sure that you're willing to change your beliefs about what it means for you to eat birthday cake at your 6-year-old girl's birthday party. Because if you're going to say you're going to give up sugar, are you going to give up sugar all the time? Are you going to, you got to tell me what you want. What is your dream? I want to give up sugar forever. Are you sure you're willing to give up birthday parties and cake and ice cream? Or do you want to give up sugar all the time except for one time a year? You got to tell me what you want, because what you want, you have to really want it. And some of them say, listen, I just want to give up sugar except for on birthday parties. I say, okay, so we'll work with that. And then they give up sugar. They've not eaten sugar except for a birthday party. All right. And then they're looking like I joke around. Some people are like looking for birthday parties to go to, if you know what I'm saying. It's like, I know. I'm Facebook. Tell me, I'm adding everybody as a friend. Facebook. Tell me when their birthday is. No, I'm just kidding. No, seriously though. And so what I found, Bruce, is what I was doing, I was having far greater impact and influence in people's lives through the mindset answer man stuff than I was the podcast answer man stuff. And so I'm like, okay, the thing is there's no question in my heart that God's put this message. He's given me the life that I've had, the experiences, all the trials and troubles and all the pain and suffering I went through And now to learn how to get out of it, he's given me that in the platform of hundreds of thousands of people around the world through all the podcasts that I've had. He's given me this opportunity to teach this. And Bruce, you and I had the privilege of working one-on-one. I can't do 300 one-on-one calls in a single weekend, right?
Impossible.
But I can do 300 people. I can give 300 people in Franklin, Tennessee, September 13th through the 15th, 2019. I can have 300 people in my audience, and I can give them the 6 one-hour lessons that will radically transform and change their life forever. And
So
that's why I'm doing free.
How do they get that information? If right now they said, okay, Cliff, I'm in. Where do they go to?
freethedreamconference.com. That's it. freethedreamconference.com.
And it's 2 days? How many days?
It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It is September 13th through the 15th, 2019. It's all day Friday, all day Saturday, and it starts at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning and ends at 12:30 in the afternoon on Sunday. And here's what I will tell you. On Friday, I will be the opening keynote speaker. I will speak in the middle of the day, and I will be the closing keynote speaker for Friday. I will do the same thing on Saturday. I'll be the opening keynote on Saturday. I will be in the midday on Saturday, and I will close out Saturday evening. And then I also do a bonus VIP session for the VIP guests on Saturday evening. Actually, that's actually Friday evening. But then on Sunday, I will do an opening keynote on Sunday, and then all of these spaces in between my talks are filled up with some of the most amazing, influential, most powerful communicators on this planet. And they're going to give talks that will show you just what's possible in life.
And that's going to be recorded. So if I would come, then I'll get the recording or the DVD or however you're going to digitally save it so I can refer back to it. Is that correct?
Yes. In fact, matter of fact, if you buy a ticket to Free the Dream 2019 at freethedreamconference.com, you'll instantly get all of the recordings of this event from the Free the Dream 2018 event. You'll get it instantly so you can start listening to it and be introduced to the concepts before you even come to Franklin, Tennessee this year. And then, yes, if you have a ticket to Free the Dream 2019 and you came to the event, or if you happen to have missed the event, then probably about 6 to 8 weeks after the Free the Dream 2019 event, you will then have access to all of the recordings from this year's event as well.
No, Franklin is proximity to Nashville. It's pretty close to Nashville.
20 miles south of Nashville. And it's the most beautiful part of Tennessee I've ever been to. Well, okay, no, that's not true. I love the Smoky Mountains as well. In all fairness, I love the Smoky Mountains a whole lot more than I do Franklin, Tennessee. But Franklin, Tennessee is a beautiful place. I just have to make sure I'm authentic and transparent. Yeah. Right. Smoky Mountains is a much more beautiful place. But Franklin, Tennessee is awesome.
And I'm looking at the Tetons. I keep saying that because we wake up in the morning, and I'll just share this. Last night, I got up to go to the bathroom at 1:30, and it was a full moon. And I went out on the deck, and the Grand Teton was just illuminated because there's still snow in the mountains, a lot of snow in the Rockies. And I'm going, God, this is magnificent. I mean, you had to be there. You had to be up at 1:30 in the morning, but just to gaze at that and to have the privilege to do that, and that's a big part of my life, is being in wild places and to be here and to look at this. It's places that people dream. And I'm very fortunate because I've been able to live a lot of my dreams.
Yes, you have. You've been extremely fortunate. And you want to know something, Bruce?
What?
We're all extremely fortunate. Every single person listening to our voice is extremely fortunate.
Yep. And they're extremely important.
Yes.
Extremely important because we all have warts. We all have fine tuning. Some of us need major overhauls. But get around people like Cliff and listen to what he's saying and then say, okay, I can do that. And one of my told me, he said, okay, what you have to do is after our whole conversation's done, you got to give me 50 things that you're going to do. And one of the 50 things, I think it was 48 or whatever, is take Cliff and his lovely wife out to dinner in Franklin, Tennessee. And I'm working to those goals. So forget the age, because I just hate with 20 and 30-year-olds. So that has no bearing. If you're hearing my voice, I don't care how old you are. I don't care how poor you are. I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your nationality is. A person like Cliff Ravenscraft can help you transform yourself if you want to do that.
Yeah. Last year at Free the Dream 2018, the youngest person there, I think they were 17 years old. The oldest person there was in their 70s. Every single person's life, including my own, was transformed that weekend. And we had people from France, Germany, and all over the United States. This year, we have 3 people coming from Australia, 1 person from France. We have 1 person come from Switzerland, and 1 person from New Zealand. I was trying to think of the other international guests. So it doesn't matter where you're from. Come to Free the Dream Conference. It's going to be the most incredible experience of life transformation you'll ever imagine.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show tonight. Before we go, can I take a moment and say thank you? Listen, as we started the Whitetail Rendezvous podcast journey, we had no idea what to expect. But after 4 years, we received a ton of feedback from our over 400,000 listeners and climbing to 500,000. Speaking of which, we are now closing in on over 600 featured guests. Thank you. And a quick shout out to all those who have left an iTunes review and your feedback. I get those and really appreciate it. And it's awesome to see what you have to say, and we do read every single one of them. And I just want you to know that I am incredibly grateful for your kind words regarding the show. And all of the ratings and reviews help us attract more listeners. And if you're one of those new listeners, welcome. Great to have you. By the way, if you haven't taken the time to rate and review our show and like the Hunting on Private Land strategy on how to get permission to hunt a private property, go to whitetailrendezvous.com as a special gift for just rating and reviewing our show. When you get there, look for the start button to get the details. Listen, I'll share you the top technique from some of the top hunters in the country on how do they get permission to hunt on private land. I'll share with you the exact techniques they use to get permission. As my way of saying thanks for rating and reviewing the show on iTunes. So join us next time. And remember, we're all on this journey together, learning, sharing, and becoming 365 hunters.
Okay, I want to come Free to Dream. How do I do that? Where do I go right now? On my smartphone, on my laptop? How do I do that?
Real simple. freethedreamconference.com. Go buy your ticket right now.
And the ticket cost?
The ticket cost is on the page. I can tell you right now, the full price, if you wait until the day before the event, the VIP tickets will probably be sold out by then, but they're $19.99. And the standard ticket, full price, is $9.99. Bruce, it depends. I know how podcasting works because I've been around a podcaster too. So I know that some people are hearing, by the way, some people are hearing this way beyond. I mean, they're hearing this episode in like 2022. All right.
Yeah,
just go to free.
Evergreen. It lives forever.
Yeah, exactly. So freethedreamconference.com, go there and the ticket price is on the page. Just click, or it's actually click here to reserve now button. And that's going to pull up the ticket options and it's going to show you the price. And by the way, there's always, if you get it, a couple days or weeks before the event, there's always going to be a discounted price. And so the only reason I'm not saying exactly what the price is right now is because I'm I can tell you, I'm 56 days, 17 hours, 59 minutes, and 22 seconds away from the conference. And what I will tell you is that the price is going up every Tuesday and every Friday between now and September 13th.
So folks, take action now, because if you do that, you'll be transformed, not changed. There'll be transformation that'll happen in your life, period.
Bruce, let me ask you, you can say that. Have you experienced transformation in your life as a result of a 1-hour conversation with me?
Yes.
Awesome.
And I'll give you a perfect example. The people I'm visiting, they manage this ranch for this gentleman that is a billionaire. And so his personal blueprint didn't equal the life conditions. So we had, with the family last night, had a huge discussion about that. And all of a sudden they said, you're right. Because they want this, when he shows up today, flies in his G5, they want this to be above his expectations. But because the gentleman, his expectations exceed it, but he doesn't give them the tools to meet his expectations. So see the disconnect? Everybody, you can hear that disconnect.
Yeah. So he needs to change the life conditions, which is give him the tools to meet the expectations or to adjust the expectations.
Right.
That's it. It's simple.
That's it. That's really it. And I said, that's what's going to happen today or tomorrow. And I think that was one of the reasons I ended up here. Their son, I've been mentoring their son since he was in high school. Now he's mid-20s. So I've been mentoring son. He and I have traveled and hunted and done a lot of really neat things. And we've done a lot of things for God because he said, hey, you two guys go here and do this. We go, okay. And we did it. And so, I look at this family as an extension. And it was really, when I showed up at the ranch just the other day, I never spent a lot of time with mom and dad. I just hadn't. It's just the two boys I have. And the mother said to me, she said, thanks so much for coming because I don't have a dad and the kids don't have a grandfather. He died. And I almost cried. I mean, wow. That's one of the reasons I'm here, because for her to say that was huge. I mean, just those words coming, and because that validated who I was for the family. And I already sort of kind of knew that, but I didn't know it was transferred to the mother and father.
Yeah.
Now, this is personal stuff, folks, but that's how you can be transformed. Did Cliff Ravenscraft get me to this ranch? A piece of him, some of his words did.
I will say this.
Transformed my life.
Bruce got himself to this ranch. All I did was help Bruce eliminate some beliefs that he had about whether or not he could get himself to that ranch.
Or do the thing that I know I have 50 things, and folks, that's between me and Cliff. That's the only two people that are going to see it. My wife saw it. She goes, really? I go, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And so that's how powerful a person like Cliff Ravenscraft. Now, there's other people out there in the world.
Oh, yeah. By the way, there's very few things that I teach that I didn't learn from Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Napoleon Hill, or Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Everything that I teach came from them.
And guess what, folks? That's the same thing, but that's where everybody comes from. But they take it, and their belief structure is so good or so strong that's to say, okay, I'm going to apply it, and I'm going to change people's lives.
Yes.
To me, that's who you are.
Yeah. Well, Bruce, man, I got to tell you, I'm excited, and thank you for this opportunity to connect with you again. Thank you for this opportunity to share this message with your audience. I hope they'll come to Franklin, Tennessee, quite frankly, or if they're listening to this in 2025, just look at what stadium we're in, because we're growing. But anyway, freethedreamconference.com is where you can go buy your ticket. And if you don't buy a ticket today, which, please do, but go to mindsetanswerman.com/free at least and watch this 1-hour talk. It'll transform your life. But Bruce, I really appreciate you.
And I'll just say this, Cliff has sent out a couple of emails. You can have an opportunity to spend a day with Cliff. And is that an email you have on a distribution list, or how do they find out?
It's on my website. So if you go to cliffravenscraft.com and click work with me in the tab. So it's over at cliffravenscraft.com or just mindsetanswerman.com. Either one of those two things. There's a work with me tab, and it tells you all the different ways you and I could work together.
And you'll never regret it. Period.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks, for tuning in. And if you're listening to this 5 years from now, look up Cliff, because I think he's filling stadiums.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.